Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 32 female, used to have this really cool Uncle Bill. He and my Aunt Sarah, 55 female, started dating when I was 3, and we just had this type of instant bond. I loved this guy, and he spoiled me to pieces. It was a constant joke that the only reason he married my aunt was so I'd officially be his niece. He was ecstatic when my Aunt Sarah became pregnant, because being a dad was something that he always wanted, and adored my cousin Julie, 24 female, for the first few years of her life. Then, one day while Bill was out of town, I was sleeping over, and in the middle of the night I woke up to use the bathroom and heard the back door slam. It had a very distinct sound. I was curious and peeked out the window from the room that I was in that was overlooking the backyard. There was a man there talking to my aunt, laughing and hugging before he went away. And the way that he left was not circling around to the front where the other cars would be, but going over the fence, and I thought that was weird. I went back to sleep, and when I woke up, Bill was back, and without thinking, I mentioned what I saw during breakfast. Sarah tried playing it off, but she was weird about it. Unfortunately, that began an avalanche of mess, and not only did it come out that Sarah was having an affair and Julie wasn't his, but my mom and maternal grandparents knew and said nothing. There was a divorce, and while Bill let Sarah have the house, he knew she couldn't afford to maintain it, left the country, he had dual citizenship, and never tried to stay in contact with Julie. It was heartbreaking. I missed Bill, and I was sad for my cousin, so I became a target for her and Sarah's anger. In their mind, if I hadn't said anything, Bill would have stayed. I felt so guilty about it for years that I accepted their acts of wrath in silence. But when Julie hacked my email to reject my offer of admissions to my dream college and 2 scholarships, I just couldn't take it anymore. There was a huge blowout between my mom and Sarah. We've all been very low contact since. Fast forward 2020, and I happened to see Bill on social media, and I shoot him a message. Ironically, I was surprised that he responded, and he asked about my life. We would talk for a while after that, but never once brought up Julie or Sarah. Bill never married and found out he couldn't have bio kids, and I knew that was tough for him. Unfortunately, Bill has passed away. I went to the funeral in secret just to pay my respects, and then went back home. I expected nothing, so I was surprised when Bill's lawyer called and told me that I was left an inheritance. I was surprised, and so was Bill's ex-girlfriend because she tracked me down on social media and put me on blast where all of my extended family could see, and word got back to Sarah and Julie. They think that I'm a witch, and my grandparents want me to split it, to keep the peace, but I kinda don't want to, given how they treated me. Am I the a-hole? Well, OP's aunt should have thought about it when she was having the affair. They brought this all on themselves, and they should never have blamed OP in the first place. OP was just the scapegoat. He was bound to find out eventually. Truth always comes out. It's just a question of time. OP does not owe them anything, so she should not share it. He left it to OP for a reason. That's OP's. I think OP needs to go completely no contact with her aunt and cousin. They don't deserve to be in OP's life. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Sebscreen says, obviously not the a-hole. Your grandparents are delusional. They did nothing to keep the peace when those 2 were trying their hardest to ruin your life. And you don't owe anyone a damn thing. Don't dishonor Bill like this. He wanted you to have this inheritance, not the woman who betrayed him. I'm Montez says, not the a-hole in any way. Keep the money. I hope you were able to get your college acceptance and scholarship back. Regardless, do not share a dime of it, especially not after what they did. They can only blame your aunt. You are not the a-hole for anything as described. Confused Thunderstorm says, so not the a-hole. Firstly, you were a child making innocuous statements about something you saw. You were not the one cheating and lying to your partner about the parentage of your child. On top of it, your aunt and cousin have been downright horrible to you. They deserve no redemption. Your cousin could have still been the innocent collateral damage if she hadn't partaken in the harassment inflicted on you and messed with your college acceptance and scholarship. What the hell? OP, I'm very livid for you. You're obviously a very nice person to even feel guilty about getting the inheritance instead of your aunt, who was horrible to you and Uncle Bill, and cousin, who was horrible to you? I definitely wouldn't have. Some context. My, 30 female, best friend Dan, 30 male, got married to Lauren, 27 female, yesterday. Me and Dan have been best friends since high school, and despite always being platonic with no romantic interests on either side, his now wife Lauren has always disliked me. In their 3 years of dating, I've not been allowed to see Dan alone because she feels that it's suspicious that I want to hang out with him. Honestly, I just missed my friend. Despite me being happily married, she always kept me at arm's length. I always figured this was because she's from a very conservative family. Dan has spoken to her multiple times, and after, she'll back off for a bit, before reverting to complaining about him being friends with a girl again. It's not ideal, but she makes Dan happy, so I made my peace with it. That brings us to the wedding. Originally, I was going to be in the groom's party, but Lauren ended up crying, saying a wedding is not a place to swap gender roles. Dan was fighting her on this, but I told him I'll just attend as a guest, and not to choose this hill to die on. The dress code was warm tone garden party, and we were encouraged to wear earthy warm colors. I picked out a bronze orange dress that I thought fit this perfectly, and the style even matched some examples they gave. In short, I thought I had nailed it. The wedding went great. However, at the reception, Lauren dragged me aside and said, "I cannot believe you would wear gold to my wedding. You're not the first prize. You're just ducking trashy." I was so shocked in the moment, I just stared at her. She practically screamed at me to leave, and she was drawing attention, so I grabbed my husband, said goodbye to Dan, and left. Dan reached out after and told me he was upset I left his wedding so soon. Lauren's mom has texted me saying I ruined the wedding for her daughter, and I'm stupid for wearing a gold dress. She says it's as bad as wearing white. I was genuinely not aware this was a thing. I want to reach out to Dan to explain, but I don't know if I'm in the wrong here. Am I the a-hole? Well, I think OP needs to let Dan know why she left, and that OP is getting texts from her family. OP needs to be ready now that they are married. She's going to cut off their friendship most likely. I think OP did nothing wrong. That dress is exactly what the dress code called for. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Aether Wend says, "I don't think it would have mattered what color your dress was. The now wife hates you and was going to find something to yell at you for whatever you wore. If it wasn't the dress color, it would have been something else. Tell your friend why you left early and make sure he knows how his wife treats you, not the a-hole." Dogs Reading Books says, "Not the a-hole. You wore an orange dress to their wedding. It was perfectly within the dress code. To be frank, I didn't even know it was normal to decide which colors guests wear to the wedding. I thought that was for bridesmaids, but sure. Nope, you followed the dress code. She clearly has beef with you. If your description of this is accurate, then she is making drama out of nothing." Christy Lane says, "Just so I'm up to speed. As a guest, I can't wear white, duh, black, because that's mourning the marriage, red, because that means I've slept with, want to sleep with the groom, gold, because no one knows why outside of this bride and her mother, orange, copper, or bronze, because those are the same as gold." My fiancé and I have been fighting over this topic for about 3 months, and recently it got heated since she is due soon. Her family has this practice, policy, tradition, whatever you want to call it, that men are not allowed to see their wife giving birth, that only females should see another woman in such a vulnerable position. The men are not even in the hospital at the time. They are at home waiting for the wife to come home. I told my fiancé that it's dumb, and I want to be present. End of story. My fiancé has been begging me to understand, telling me this is how her family has been doing things for years, and overall, she gets final say regarding who is in the room with her, and she will respect her family's tradition. I told her fair, then our wedding is off, and after the child is born, we can figure out custody, and told her I refuse to marry into a family where my wishes as a father take a back seat because everyone else did it one way. I did my best to explain I wish to be in the room to see our child born and support you, not sit at home with my thumb up my butt waiting for you to come home. She told me I was being extremely unreasonable, that it is just one moment, that we have the rest of our lives ahead of us, no need to throw it all away because of her family. What she said at the end got me thinking, but I don't know. A part of me is having second thoughts. If her family is this controlling over something like this, what else will they be controlling over? Also, I am annoyed and shocked she said it is her choice overall, and she gets final say card on this matter. While legally, sure it is, but come on, If she is willing and capable to use that card for situations like this, who is to say she would not do it for other situations? Am I the a-hole for having second thoughts and just wanting to call it off since my fiancé and her family has shown a side of her I never saw before? Amazing Maine says, honestly, it's weird that she is letting her family tradition take away such a moment from you. And no, you shouldn't marry her if she is just willing to ignore your wants when it comes to your child, just because her family did things a different way. It would be one thing if it was just her being uncomfortable with you being in the room. However, this doesn't sound like that. Studies show that fathers who are at their baby's birth and hold their little one shortly afterwards have very similar feelings of attachment to those experienced by mothers for the first few weeks. Her taking away this experience from you after you have been there for her whole 9 months of pregnancy supporting her, all because of a family practice, is BS, and you are right to not be okay with it. Swiss Miss 77 says, not the a-hole, you are right. She is allowing tradition to control her life and choices. She's an adult. She's about to become a mother. Grow a spine already. If it's tradition to let a 2-week-old baby cry it out, is she going to do that? How about if it's tradition to give a baby water? So many toxic, harmful things that can and sometimes are traditions. And when we know better, we're supposed to do better. She can make different choices. Tradition be damned. And I wouldn't want to marry into that either, because they absolutely will control your lives. Bitter Animator 2514 says, not the a-hole. She has got to realize that you and her and your baby are your own family and make your own traditions. If she caves at this, what's next that her family wants for your child? When does she say enough is enough? This is stupid, but I got engaged on Christmas, and we went looking at venues the last week of December. We won a civil wedding, not a church one. One of them had just had a cancellation, so we took that day. It's convenient because that venue has its own kitchen, with catering staff and a bartender. It also has an in-house florist. We had to find our own officiant, photographer, and music for the reception. We're doing the invitations ourselves, and going to wear clothes we already have. This was part of the reason we chose this venue, and ended up taking the cancellation. It made our planning easy. Everyone we were inviting lives in this city, and we told them as soon as we signed the contract with the venue, so they could mark the date if they wanted to attend. We gave 3 months' notice. My mom and dad always make everything about my younger sister. When they found out I don't want kids and won't be a parent, it became all about how it's not fair that I'm depriving her of being an aunt. When I had a mole removed from my cheek that turned out to be melanoma, it became all about how it would affect my sister because she was scheduled for buccal fat removal surgery the next day, and people would judge her for having cosmetic surgery versus my procedure being for cancer. I'm well. It's been nearly 5 years without a reoccurrence, and the scar is barely noticeable. These are just 2 examples, but there are many more. It was stupid because I didn't think they would make my wedding about her too. My sister has had something called microblading done. Microblading is where you get your eyebrows tattooed on. Apparently my sister didn't know it would be permanent. She's 28, so I don't know how someone that age doesn't know tattoos are permanent. She didn't like how it looked, so she's getting laser removal. My parents and sister told me not to have my wedding while she's having the lasering done. They say I should wait until at least a year or more to get married because it takes many laser sessions with several weeks in between sessions to completely remove the tattoos, and until it's done, her eyebrows will turn red and yellow and not look good. My parents told me my sister is embarrassed about how she'll look in the pictures while undergoing the laser, especially if she can't wear makeup on them during it. They said I'm not allowed to have my wedding on the date we chose, and my sister agreed with them. We didn't change the date. I don't live with my mom and dad or take money from them, so I'm not sure how they thought they could say I'm not allowed. But my wedding is in 6 days, and it still hurts that I won't have any family there. They are the only 3 relatives I have, and none of them will be there. They think the wedding is on the 6th, not the 30th, which I know is good so they can't make a scene at my wedding. I will have so many friends there to support me, but I still kind of wish my family would be there too. I'm absolutely chuffed about getting married and would never delay it because of my sister. But part of me still wants my mom and dad, and even her, to be there. This is not stupid. OP's family is horrible, and it's probably for the best that they don't come to the wedding. This is OP's and her fiancé's special day, and it deserves to be celebrated. Delilah Pixie Rose 21 says, "This is not stupid. This is your wedding. The fact your sister paid for eyebrows that look like upside-down Nike logos is not your problem either. If anything, it's the universe making sure your special day will be about you. Fire or Water Kai says, "Oh, hon, your parents wouldn't be present for you even if you picked the exact date they wanted. It's always about your sister, and apparently her eyebrows. Have the wedding, and work on why you even let them be in the periphery of your life when they clearly don't care. Hope it's a fabulous day for you. Also, please let everyone know that your parents didn't want you to get married because of your sister's eyebrows. They all deserve to be shamed for that."